can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch.
Oh, yeah.
So easily affected.
We have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
Price shopping is the single best thing you can do. I mean, I think that you got to have multiple books and you have to be taking the best available price every single bet.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good Juju.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good Juju, where our committee selects the best and most deserving content for every show. There's your foreshadowing. Right?
Yeah. Topical.
Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, check out our merch shop, and spread the word if you don't mind. Seriously, holiday season, I'm gonna say it again. You aren't easy to shop for. You don't actually care what they get you anyway. Send them the link to our merch shop and say, here, pick me out 1 or 2 things. If all of our followers did that, RJ and I could probably go to Bet Bash without spending our own money.
One of our followers did that. I would be very happy.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Just go to goodjujubets.net. Click on the merch shop and share the link with your loved ones. You can also find us on the socials at Good Juju Bets. Our content's getting better there, so hit us up. Nothing we enjoy more than hanging out and talking to fans. In addition to Juice, Jolly, and myself, we have the venerable Judge J. Troop.
Hello, I'm a big fan of the show. Thank you guys for having me.
Joining us live today in studio. Jay, thanks for taking time to hang out with us today, and we will only rag you a little bit for not hanging out with us more. Before we dive into the life of at Big J's Plays, a quick rundown of today's topics. Jay, we want to know how you quietly sit over there in West Peoria stacking paper and laughing at friends. We're also going to talk about whether Sunday was the best non-game day of college football ever. Mark Cuban with the greatest gambling lobbyist move of all time. Kurt is done taking juice.
What?
And that's not our friend Real Juicy here. He's done taking juice. Breezy can't figure out how to gamble now that he has a life. Folks, that's a lot to get to. We're really excited about this show, and we're going to dive into it. Boys, you ready to do this?
Yeah, quick
Let's
question.
go.
Easy show, let's do it.
Jay, are you a judge?
Honorably, I can't say yes to that.
So we've crowned him a judge.
Oh, I was curious. Okay.
And I will tell you why. It is because he looks like bowler Kyle Troop.
So because he looks like a bowler, we've made him a judge.
Makes perfect sense.
Just want to make sure I'm connecting the dots.
I don't need to explain it any further. He's going to wear the wig. He forgot the bowling shirt, and I forgot the judge's robe.
All right.
But you should really check out our content on video. It's great. We're going to have a lot of fun with this
can't
video
wait.
bit.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome. All right, Jay. Very good friend of the show and of us personally. We all know you pretty well, but none of us can rationalize how your picket has you at double-digit ROI. We need to know how you do it because I think you are the person whose system I would like to emulate. But before we talk through the details of that, you've lived with our best friend, Curtis, here. Almost said his last name.
Ooh,
good work.
Close.
Multiple times over many years in different cities. You know the man in a way we never will, and we are absolutely fascinated by that. I want one story from you that best sums up living with Kurt.
Well, let me preface by saying that those were the best years of my life. Football Sundays were incredible. We had the bachelor pad. We had the kegerator. We had 2 TVs on an off night, 3, 4 on a busy night.
And for the record, Real Juicy and I were somewhat frequent visitors.
Occasional visitors.
Yeah, I was out of town, but when we could.
Yeah.
It was a great time. Poker games, all that. However, the story that I would want to go with would be one of those very crazy, very wild Sunday night 49er football games.
Oh, no.
And I kind of have a feeling it was in that lull period where the 49ers weren't very good. I could be mistaken on that. But let me tell you, watching football with Kurt is an amazing thing to do, especially when he's consuming alcohol. And these basically, after a long day of watching football and eating and drinking and all that, we're standing on the porch close to midnight, having a good time. Kurt is probably about 10% coherent. And then Kurt proceeds to fall off of the front porch, which left a pretty sizable facial wound.
We talking permanent damage here?
It might have. It might have. No, it was crazy. I was just standing there talking to them, and the next thing you know, like I'm standing on the edge of the porch, and it's all concrete, right?
Of course.
And I just swan dive. Boom. Right face first into the concrete, and I immediately get up, and it sobered me up like that.
How far of a fall is this?
6 feet.
Oh my gosh.
Face first?
Face, like from. No, so like it was probably like what 4 or 5 feet. The porch.
Yeah, I mean 3 to 5 feet. I would say.
Yeah.
Well,
On the concrete.
Glad
If
you
you
made
figure
it through.
my height,
Yeah, right. Plus
my
that.
skull is like 8 to 10 feet. Boom, into the concrete, and I immediately got up and I went into the bathroom, and I just looked at the side of my face, like you can see the scar, right?
Yeah.
And then
Did anyone take you to the hospital?
no,
Of course not.
Did you?
How many years ago was
Who would
this?
drive?
Did you or did you not? Sorry to interrupt you, but did you or did you not go to work the next day?
oh, I went to work the next day. Yeah, for sure.
Waiting tables.
Yeah.
With a huge facial
cash
Oh yeah,
lacerations.
yeah. My side of my face was swollen.
Was this before you moved to Denver?
Oh yeah.
Now we've got one factor.
This was probably like 12 years ago, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
2012, 2015, or something like that.
Yeah, way long time ago. So
Well, glad you're okay.
yeah, I got checked out like the next day. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. No brain damage.
Little brain damage. But
No.
No.
Don't you know you can go to the doctor the next day? They'll look at you
Yeah.
and they know. They know if you have
Of course.
brain damage.
It'll be $800.
Insurance.
Oh, fantastic. All right.
All right, Jay.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing
I
a
hope that
lovely
fulfilled
story.
I thought you were
What you were
gonna.
looking
I thought you were gonna tell the story about me just taking the keyboards and just smashing them on the ground. There's video of me just.
Oh,
Oh,
my
it's
Lord.
great.
Were you just mad?
Yeah, the Niners lost,
And
I
they
got
wouldn't run the ball.
and they wouldn't run the ball, and they got beat, and I was screaming at the TV, and I picked up my computer keyboard, and I just started smashing it on the ground like a psycho.
That's what made Sundays the best.
And it's on video too. AJ's got the video. AJ's got so many videos.
Okay, we're doing this. One time, RJ and I were over at Jay and Kurt's on a Sunday, and RJ had a birthday party for his daughter. And Kurt was going to go to this birthday party with me and RJ.
Hi, Hazel.
So we were going to give him a ride. And
Go
he
to
was
the
watching.
birthday party at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
on
my
Florence.
daughter. Yes.
Yeah.
She was turning 3.
She was turning 3, so still young. It's like, whatever, you invite whoever you want, you hang out with whoever you want.
Right.
And so he kept drinking. And then we get in the car to drive him over there. And he's in my car. And he starts puking. We can't do anything. So we keep driving. And he's puking out the window. And then we get to RJ's house.
Oh, I
And
can't
Kurt
wait.
goes in. And what does he do? He goes to the basement and passes out for the entire party. And then he goes to leave. And I think, does he say, "Happy birthday, Hazel"?
No, that's when I walked in. I said,
Oh.
"Happy birthday, Hazel," and then I went and sat my face on the toilet in the basement for the entire Steelers-Bears game.
Right. By passed out in the basement, you mean laid in a 2x2 bathroom.
With my head on the toilet.
Happy birthday, Hazel.
Yeah.
Wasn't like he was on my couch.
Right.
We've all had our younger days. We're not here to say 40-year-old Kurt does that exact same thing when he comes over on Sundays. He's more under control, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more responsible.
But
Right.
we see that same twinkle in his eye that you referenced there, Jay, every Sunday over at the garage.
Yep.
All right, Jay, let's get into this. I'm at 1.5% on
Right.
Pickett total ROI. Kurt's at 3%. Kurt, that's an awesome ROI number. You're at 3% ROI over, there's too many bets. I don't even know what the number is, but fantastic work.
Thank you.
Jay, your Pickett says you're at 12%. Does that feel accurate? You are confident that you are a consistently profitable bettor. We see you report your Pickett on a monthly basis. By the way, shout out to that. That's some awesome transparency, and it's fun that you do it.
Yeah.
And you almost on a monthly basis report a monthly profit.
Yeah, I was just going through it the other day. For 11 months, it's 10 winning months, 1 losing month.
Fantastic.
That's incredible.
So why are you still working another job, Jay?
Well, I don't know. It's a long story, but winning at sports betting takes time. When you have time, you can put more effort and more research into it. Over the course of the last 2 years, I've had a lot of time to do this, and I've honed my processes, and I feel like I've got a good process. But it's also a large degree of promo betting.
Yeah.
So it's a large degree promo betting, but it's also a large degree promo betting for me. So good job doing it better. 12% ROI is incredible one way or another.
I hit some pretty large paying bets, and a lot of my bets now that I'm limited to $10, I'm betting long shot bets for $10, and I think that can contribute to a higher ROI. I don't have
Yeah, but you're playing spread bets for $100.
sometimes.
Okay.
Do you have a consistent unit size?
Yeah, pretty much stick at 50. My bankroll says I could double it, and you know I kind of just take a lot to what you said to heart about. You know, I could do that, but there's something I'd stick about $50 a unit.
Conservative.
I like it.
Keep
So
them around for the long run.
You mentioned that you feel like over the last couple of years you honed your process. Can you give us an idea of what are you doing on a day? Like, what do you have kind of a structure to your gambling day?
Yes. I have several people that I would shout out to that I would say are the reason I am successful.
Oh, sweet.
Follow the Money with VSiN,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Vegas Sports and Information Network. I listen to them on Spotify every single day.
I love that show.
It's just a plethora of knowledge. They're wonderful. Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard. I love listening to those guys, and they bring on guests every day that are extremely knowledgeable in all these different sports.
It was 2 weeks ago, I think, that I was talking to RJ randomly, and I go, you know what? I'm pretty sure Paulie Howard's my favorite personality on VSiN.
I love those guys. They're like Midwest guys out in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like that's who I want to be when I grow up.
The way Paulie Howard talks with confidence is wonderful.
It is. I love the show.
Yeah.
I never watched the video. I only listened to the audio, and for months I thought Paulie Howard would be like this massive guy that you know, just big, huge, burly guy, and like come to find out he's just this kind of average looking guy.
Right.
I watch the VSiN network on YouTube TV. So that's primarily, I always get to see the guys. So that's great. Okay. So you start off your day with VSiN. What else are you doing throughout the day?
Basically, so that's a story I got to give you guys a lot of credit for, is my experience with Twitter. Like, it's only a couple years old, where like 2 years ago I was like, why do I need Twitter to gamble? Like, why do I need to? I don't understand that.
Yeah.
However, now I am on Twitter all day. Well, not all day, every day, but every day for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
Do you have your notifications set up?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Good,
yes.
good.
Notifications for Promo Guy, ROI Guy,
Yeah.
Ohio Promo Spartan, just guys that are putting out solid, mathematically EV positive plays. That
So no general Twitter touts?
So the only thing that I pay for a long, long time in my sports betting history, I did not want to pay for play. Like, I was just like, I'm not paying for someone to tell me what to bet. I want to do it myself, and I want to learn myself.
Yeah.
But with that said, the two things I pay for are Sportsline and KenPom, and that's $120 a year.
Let's have a conversation, Jay. Okay. I love this. So first of all, on the Sportsline app. Let's talk about this for a minute because I agree with you. I'm the one who introduced you to the Sportsline app.
Correct.
It was like our first go at this whole thing.
Yeah. And here's what I love about the Sportsline app is not that it's someone you're paying to give one exclusive opinion to.
Right.
It's a model plus it's an aggregate of a community giving out plays. So you can go into any individual game, you can see what their model says, and then you can see if anyone has an opinion that would drive you away from what the model's saying.
And sometimes the touts' opinions correspond with what the model says, and sometimes they're completely in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which we know from talking with Corby, the model is meant to be a baseline. It's never meant to exclusively be the factor driving the play,
Right.
by and large.
Yeah, so you're kind of navigating those two things together.
Yeah. So I also recommend the Sportsline app. I've had it for years. I paid for it for a while now, courtesy of Big Jabe's Plays. I'm getting hooked up here again. So thank you for that. And then Ken Palm, we just had a show talking about it. I used Bart Torvik, which is Ken Palm's extremely similar kind of ripped off site, but not the exact same. And so what do you use Ken Palm for?
If you're going to bet college basketball seriously, there's no reason not to have that line. Yeah. I mean, like what I listened to the podcast with Corby today, and I just wanted to not get too far off track, but I mean, the list of guests you guys have had is just awesome. I mean, like what you guys are doing with the show is amazing. And like the people you've brought on, I'm like thoroughly impressed with. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm on, I don't make a living doing this. I am not in the space, but just to be and listen to the people that you guys have brought on, I think you've had a ton of just incredible guests.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Thanks.
I've loved listening to every single episode. And but getting back to Corby.
Well, getting back to Ken Palm.
Yeah, how are you using Ken Palm?
I guess here's what I'm hearing. Are you originate your own plays as well?
Well, like you said, you go on Sportsline and it's almost impossible to bet every play. I mean, there's a lot of plays on there. And then you look at the model and then they're giving you A-rated plays. And it's like, what are you going to bet here?
Yeah.
There's a lot of advice, but like, I'm not going to go on there and bet every single play. So I do kind of just pick through what I like and go with that. I follow a lot of people, but at the same time, I keep it fun. I like to bet golf out. I bet golf outrights winners every single week for the whole summer. And yeah, it's not the smartest decision. The same with me and Kurt were talking the other day with the first touchdown bets. That is not intelligent market to bet, most likely. But still do it.
It's fun.
It is
Are you profitable at golf?
I was not profitable at all until the second or third to last week of the year at the St. Jude Classic, where shout out Cupmaker Jeff for putting me on Lucas Glover 75-1 maybe.
Oh, we were all sweating that out together, I think. Yeah. Not together, but you I think shared your play. Yeah, I think I was watching the Celtics and sweating that one out on TV too.
I remember the group thread about that one.
Yeah.
Jay. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was exciting.
There's just something fun about hitting a long shot. That's what
Oh my God, it's so fun. Yeah.
What about tracking your plays? Do you track how you perform yourself versus how, you do with promos and things? Do you know the difference?
I exclusively use Pickett to track my plays, and I kind of just started doing that about a year ago. When you need to track your plays if you're going to be taken seriously on any level of anything, and it's just an intelligent decision to make. So, yeah, that Pickett is all I use. I don't get any more in depth than that.
I mean, I can't imagine at 12% that you're struggling with or without the promos, bud. That's awesome. All right. Any other questions?
He's just a little jealous.
Get over it. I love Jay. I don't have jealousy in my bones.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. Any other questions about Jay's gambling habits, boys?
No, sir.
What's your favorite sport to bet on? Is it golf?
No, it's the NFL. That's
okay.
I mean, is that what I'm most profitable at? No,
of course not. Yeah,
I want to bet on the games and I want to watch the games.
There's not much better than a Sunday. There you go. Get that wig on, pal.
It's time.
Yeah, there's nothing better than a Sunday. All the games are on at once, and
we're gonna move into the next segment.
Yeah.
Let the judging begin, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. You thought Big J's Plays was just in the studio to have a conversation about his life, you would be wrong. We wanted to bring in Judge Jay Troop to decide some of the debates that we've had on this show. You guys want to know why I called him Judge Jay Troop. It's because I want him to be a judge for us on an ongoing basis and come in and do this for us.
Oh, okay. Well,
okay, so get used to it, people. Yeah. Judge Jay Troop's going to be in here every once in a while. All right, Jay, here's how this is going to work. We are going to run through a series of topics. We each have about 1 to 2 sentences to convince you. We want you to take a few...
You do that. What? What if you do this? And then
Jay,
put the
you
wing
don't
on?
look like Kyle
You
Troop.
look like Kyle Troop.
You look like
Kyle
Curly.
Troop has a huge forehead.
Wait, is it...
You look like the guy from Kid and Play.
Is it Mo, Larry, or Curly? He looks like one of them.
Yeah, not
Larry.
Mo. Yeah, Larry.
Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to run through a series of topics. We each have one. Can you please let me get through this? I'm going to have to cut all this out.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Here's the deal for everyone in the audio-only audience. Jay is supposed to look like bowler Kyle Troop. Google Kyle Troop.
And we'll do a little side by side.
Except he's wearing the wig over his headphones, so instead he looks like one of Mo, Larry, or Curly. I'm not sure which one. And
Shout out
it
to
is
Stooges.
definitely, he doesn't have the jersey. We don't have the robe.
Right.
Nothing's working.
Awesome hairdo, though.
That's a good looking shirt, though.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have 2 of us go through topics that historically we've somewhat debated, or RJ put our names next to it, so we have to pretend we did.
Right.
And we're going to each give 1 to 2 sentences as to why we believe that. And then, Jay, you're going to make a ruling. Sound good?
You good, Jay?
I'm good. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
You can give us 1 to 2 sentences on why if you want to.
Right.
All right. Whoever is not in the debate is going to moderate it.
So, with the first one, we'll go with this. College or pros? Peter, college.
College has far more passion in it and energy than the pros do.
All right, Kurt, pros.
NBA has more talent, and it's not even close. Best basketball players in the entire universe.
At least I talked about all the sports.
Both valid arguments. Peter wins.
Peter wins. Unbelievable.
I knew I was going to win that. I know Jay's biased on that.
Right.
All right. Overs or unders?
All right. So we did just talk about this with Connor Allen, but there's a lot of outs. All you got to do is get a simple underperformance out of the player, game script, blowouts, et cetera, et cetera.
There are plenty of people watching the unders market to make sure the price doesn't get out of range. Overs are more fun.
Ryan.
Boom. I thought I had a chance on that one. All right. Ryan and Curtis. NHL or NBA? Ryan, NHL.
All right. So I know absolutely nothing about hockey. So therefore, I cannot interject any personal bias, and my plays are based strictly on mathematics.
Oh, you got me there. However, I have a trump card, sir.
Oh, please.
Your scoreboard guys take your shots on goals away.
Oh, that happens a lot.
So you don't know where you stand during the entire game on your bet, and it can also be pulled from you, and you can lose.
But I only bet the under, so.
You be quiet. You be quiet.
I can't rule in favor of for the NHL from a guy wearing an NBA sweatshirt.
Oh, shout out the Boston Celtics for losing.
Curtis.
All right. We're going to go next with props or sides. Peter, tell us why the sides are the best.
You play to win the game.
Oh, my God. Who
That
cares?
is why I'm watching it. That is what I care about.
All right. So props, market volatility, more options. And who the hell watches the games they bet on? What a lame thing to do.
I think there being a little bit more value overall in the prop market. I'm going to rule with Ryan on this one.
I want that one.
All right. We got one more for you between Ryan and Peter. So we got, do coaches want to cover the spread? Ryan?
Yes, they do. The public perception of their performance is based on whether or not they cover the spread. So it is vital to them.
All you have to ask yourself is this. Sean McVay, down 10. kicked a field goal when the spread was 7.5? In that same scenario, if it's 4.5, would he have still kicked the field goal, or would he have then changed his mind and thrown a Hail Mary in that situation? If the answer is you think he still kicks the field goal, you know it's not about the spread. It's about getting the score closer.
They're absolutely trying to cover the spread.
Oh, am I betting 1,000 on this?
Maybe not every coach, but I mean, James Franklin from Penn State, I mean, he's blowing these teams out by 70.
Okay, he put another one in here for me and him. I'm not going to do it. So we're going to skip that one. We're going to go to the last one. Casino gambling or sports betting? Ryan, casino gambling.
What an exciting thing to do. Go to the casino, bet on negative EV stuff with a group of friends. Everybody's shouting about the same thing. Maybe it's because I don't watch the games I bet on.
Okay. Just going to a casino is the worst idea you could possibly have. Unless you're going out with the homies. If you want to make money, you sports bet.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not ruling against Kurt on that one.
Yeah, I mean, RJ goes, yeah, right, after you finished. Like, you conceded it before Jay even ruled on it. Right. Yes, of course, sports betting's better. That's why 80 to 90% of this is sports betting.
Who in the world would go to a casino by themselves on their lunch break once a week?
Audience, there's someone at the table who does that.
Time for an intervention.
Might be all of us.
All right, Jay, thank you so much for playing the game with us. Thank you so much for doing the interview. You're going to stick around and join us for the rest of the show now, correct?
Absolutely. Thank you guys again for having me.
All right. So, folks, we're going to get into our regular topics of the day, and we're going to start in the place that has me almost shaking with anticipation. The college football playoff selection show was the orgasmic release I needed on a Sunday morning.
TMI.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Did you watch the show?
Maybe that was too much.
Was this on ESPN, the show?
Yeah.
Oh, of course I watched this
while football was about to start?
30 minutes before.
Dude, are you kidding me? I had more action on that show than I had on anything that was starting in an
hilarious.
hour.
Okay, I know we're going to get into this, but yeah. Thanks for the context.
Let's get into this. First of all, no, it wasn't awesome because I think the 4 best and most deserving teams got in. Guess what, people? That wasn't possible this year. Also, no, I don't believe these 4 teams were selected purely altruistically with outside factors, not a criteria. I genuinely believe there were 5 teams with a very legitimate claim to the 4 playoff spots, and none of them were necessarily wrong. That said, I hit the superfecta. Nailed all 4 picks in exactly the right order. Kurt, was I all over this the day before? Kurt, were you sending me messages going, dude, people are saying Florida State's going, and I was like, I'm not worried?
Yeah. As soon as you told me that, I immediately went and checked out the Florida State odds on the no.
And when you sent the Florida State odds at the no, what was it at?
Plus 360.
Yeah, it's almost 4-1, right? Yeah.
What was the first thing you did?
I bet it.
The first
2
thing,
units.
The first thing I did when you sent that was not, oh no, Alabama's not going to make the playoffs. The first thing I did was race to bet that line
oh my gosh.
as soon as I could.
Yes.
Then the next morning, after thinking it over and considering what I thought, not what I wanted, everyone wants to have the conversation of who deserves to get in the playoffs. That's not the conversation they're having, people. So why are you having that conversation? It's a moot point to any of this. So it wasn't because I wanted Alabama in over Florida State. It isn't because I'm an SEC homer. But it was very obvious what the business decision was. And in everything we've seen with one topic, the most important topic when it comes to who is going to get selected to the bowl playoff this year, does anyone want to take a guess at what the most important factor in this was?
Money.
Conference affiliation.
Oh my goodness. Our guest, Jay, nailed it.
Kurt's skeptical.
In everything we have seen with college realignment in recent years, the business of college sports is always going to win over the historical sentiment around college sports.
Yeah.
And if you aren't tied to a strong, stable conference, you are hosed. So let's dive into why I believe I predicted the order correctly.
All right.
You can say what you want about the unprecedented nature of leaving Florida State out, but the fact is that data point is extremely lazy. Undefeated. Okay. Undefeated Power 5 champ. There is no Power 5 anymore. Coming into this year, the notion of 5 evenly considered conferences was already dead. Regardless of whether changes have been made yet, I believe that no one was going to give ACC anywhere near the credit they gave the SEC.
Yeah, how could you? Florida State's strength of schedule was 55th in the country.
It's unbelievable.
Right?
There is nobody in the ACC. They were
Right.
the 5th power-rated conference. Let me give you a data point to consider this. Let's take a look at the conference's RPI rankings, courtesy of real-time RPI. The SEC was on their own level, a strength of schedule almost 2 points higher than any other conference. The ACC was 5th. But let me put this out there. The gap between the SEC is almost the exact same as the gap between the ACC and the Sun Belt. So guess what? If it doesn't matter the difference between the SEC and the ACC, why does it matter the difference between Florida State and Liberty?
That's a great point. That's a great point. That's the first thing I thought of, really, was like, what about all these other teams and all these other conferences that go undefeated every year?
Florida State's RPI's, the ACC's RPI was about as much better than the Sun Belt as the SEC was than the ACC.
It's not really being spoken that Florida State went to LSU and won, or at least they beat them. I'm not sure where the game was played, but
it was neutral.
I mean,
Alabama beat LSU. Again,
Right,
we're
chain of
getting
custody.
caught into the semantics. None of that matters in this debate, Jay, because that's not why they picked the 4 teams they picked.
no, big shout out to you guys. I mean, you read that like a book, and that was always what was going to happen because they were never leaving the SEC out of this.
Exactly. So, of course, I'm being facetious here. The point is that the line between conferences in terms of quality has to be drawn somewhere.
Yeah.
Has a one-loss team that went undefeated in the hardest conference in the country ever missed the college football playoff? No. Okay. That was a lot harder data point to find than the data point that says Florida State's 12-0. But it would have been historically unprecedented to leave out the conference champion with only one loss in the hardest conference in the country, whose only loss was to another team going to the playoff.
Yeah.
And honestly, Pete, I think you and I were kind of talking about even Washington being dead weight, right? Like, can we get Georgia and Alabama in there? Like,
Right.
if we're going to do this thing, let's get them in there.
I threw one long shot bet on exact orders
Did you?
featuring Alabama 3 and Georgia 4.
Yeah.
I think Brad Powers nailed it on the head when he said that the committee didn't pick the most deserving or the 4 most deserving or the 4 best teams.
That's exactly right. And I don't think that's their job. For the record, Brad Powers.
And I think that I do think they did okay because nobody wanted to see a 20-point spread in the semifinal game.
I think they got it closer to the correct order than choosing either the best 4 or
Most
the
deserving.
most deserving
Yeah.
4.
I agree. What do we have? Do we have a 1.5 point spread and a 4 point spread? Is that what we have for the first 2 games?
Yeah.
That's
we're in good shape.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Liberty, real quick here, LOL at the committee putting them in over SMU, using the exact opposite logic as Alabama, Florida State. SMU is better, played a harder schedule, and is the more premier program. But you want to know the common link between Florida State and SMU? Neither one of these programs are getting the support either within their conference or from their peers outside the conference right now. Florida State went public 2 months ago with their disdain for the ACC and the fact that they wanted out. Paul Feinbaum was on yesterday or something with somebody, and he said that was on the committee's mind, genuinely, that Florida State was so public with their grievances. It's something you keep behind closed doors.
Yeah. We're not going to do you a favor.
So where was their support? A diminished ACC in power and influence that, sure, they wanted the money, but they have a tenuous relationship with them right now. And what about SMU? They're leaving their current conference after this year. Their next conference doesn't care about them making a New Year's Six Bowl. Who's pushing hard for them? No one. So this whole thing is the same politicking we saw with the realignment.
So Pete, where's SMU going?
ACC?
Oh, and FSU is going to go to the Big Ten, right?
We don't know where they're going.
Okay.
Yet. They are trapped into a grant of rights agreement with the ACC that is extremely difficult to get into because all their media rights aren't owned by them. They're owned by the ACC.
Okay.
So we can get into that here in a little bit. But this whole thing is the same politicking we saw with the realignment shuffle. 4 teams in the playoffs. Guess what? They all have a seat in the Big Ten or the SEC next year. 4 different conferences, my you-know-what. Those are Big Ten and SEC teams. The playoff committee is telling Florida State to run for the hills. You will not be viewed the same. Everyone who thought they would wait for the dust to settle on these new conferences before that edict came down was wrong. It's here now. And FSU is going to fight and claw like crazy to garner enough support to get into enough different programs in the ACC to commit to, the Big Ten, the SEC, and Big 12 in order to break the grant of rights for the ACC. I wouldn't be surprised if it happened prior to Cal, Stanford, and SMU having a say. But this is going to cause another seismic shift. And I think that's another topic that's not getting enough play here. Holy smokes, what is this going to do to the relationship between Florida State, Clemson, and the ACC? And that's what we bet on. Kurt, that is what we bet on.
Right.
We bet that the ACC didn't have the power and clout to get an undefeated Florida State team into the playoffs over Alabama. And I didn't even have that fully vetted in my mind, right, when I actually bet it. I just knew it felt like.
Yeah, right.
And the more I thought about it, I was like, anyway.
Don't you see this being the beginning of the end for the ACC with football? I mean, who's going to stick around if you go undefeated and you don't make the final?
Look, I'll need to probably save this for another day, but I started putting together my list, guessing where this all nuts out. I think at the end of the day, there's 4 to 6 teams that are going to end up in the Big Ten and the SEC from the ACC. There's going to be another probably 3 to 4 that run for the Big 12 in their relative security. And then the ACC is going to backfill, go nationwide, and probably grab Washington State and Oregon State, who's just hanging out there now, and some of those top G5s. And they will be 4th in line.
So I'm going to piggyback off that. So, my conspiratory brain, right? I'm thinking in terms of NFL, right? So obviously this is far down the line, maybe a decade away, but I can see 2 conferences, just like the NFC and AFC, Big Ten and SEC. And you've got 16 to 20 teams in the Big Ten, 16, and you just take the best programs in the country. You make 2 conferences, you stick them in there, and you have almost identical to the NFL, playoff structure and all.
I'm thrilled you brought that up for a couple of reasons.
Am I kind of on the money a little bit?
There is a fear out there that the next step for this is the powers within the Big Ten and the SEC who have the most power will ultimately break apart and form their own thing, even separate from that. I don't necessarily see that, and I'll tell you why. You don't often see program-driven poaching of conferences. It's conference-driven poaching. So it would be the SEC absorbing the Big Ten or the other. It generally wouldn't be a rogue 16 different entities deciding they were better off on their own. I could be wrong. I don't know. But right now, they can look across the other conferences and look at each other and say, we're getting paid the same. We don't need to really bicker about this. Whereas the big problem has been when premier programs in lesser conferences are looking at the payouts of these premier conferences going, my program deserves to be paid like that too. That's UCLA, USC saying, we don't deserve to get paid like they're paying us in the Pac-12 right now. We deserve to get paid like they're getting paid in the Big Ten. So absent something like that, I don't understand why the conferences would have a big problem with that. That's my thought.
I mean, I would love for college football to go to that kind of 2 conference.
And I think that's probably in the short term where we're heading. So one last thing. If you want to pay attention to a massive story that's just a little buried in all this, the NCAA may finally be caving to logic. They released a memo outlining what they foresee NIL looking like in the future. And basically, schools are going to have to buy into a program. And if they buy into a program, they commit to half their student athletes receiving a minimum of $30,000 per year. So if you have 200 athletes in your program, you have to pay 100 of them 30 grand a year, right? So 3 million. If you got 400, I think is the number I saw in most of these programs, you got to pay 200 and you got to pay them a minimum. This isn't anything to these schools. That's $6 million. That's their buy-in. They then can rack up as big a fund as they want and allocate it as much as they want wherever they want within that student body.
That's awesome.
So they can pay everyone who's not, whatever sports they really care about or whoever's not bringing in money for them, you get 30 grand a year, half of you. And then everyone who is in the revenue-driven sports get paid based on however the schools decide.
Have you been hearing lately that they're saying a Division I quarterback the going price in the portal will be about $1 million next year?
And they are probably trying to figure out ways to control for that.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really spicy and where I think it gets fun. All that money's going into one pot. You used to do the only things schools used to be able to spend all that money they got was on facilities and coaches. So now, if you're an SEC coach who wants to make $10 million a year, you are taking it straight out of the fund you need to convince kids to be players on your team.
So I got another quick question for you too. Do you foresee like some of these? So obviously NCAA, you have huge college basketball programs and you have huge football programs. Do you see a university punting on essentially football and just we're going all in on basketball?
I mean, that's already happening.
The ones who have already have. Here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of athletic programs get cut.
Yeah, you think so?
It's a percentage of the athletes you have on your roster.
So lacrosse.
And half of them, wait. You still have to abide by Title IX.
Right.
So you still, half the players you pay that $30,000 to, half of them have to be for females and female sports.
But that's not to be in the NCAA, right? Or that is to be in the NCAA.
In this program.
What is this program like? What does that mean, though?
This program is going to allow schools to pay players directly.
Right.
But if you don't opt into the program, you don't get to pay players directly.
Right. So you give it to your charity and they do it.
No. Dude, it's...
we're going to pretend you can't do it the way we do it now?
Yeah. Okay. So all the people who are going into dispensaries in every state where marijuana is legal that is putting out all the black market bookies or all the black market weed dealers, it's over.
Right. Okay.
The schools don't have to break the law anymore to do things. They get to do it directly to them. They're not going to break the law anymore. They're either they're going to decide.
I see what you're saying.
They're going to decide as a program.
Yeah.
We're either in or we're out. The $6 million is to get in. Your number in is way higher.
Totally.
So it's going to be all the schools in the Big Ten, all the schools in the SEC, all the schools in the Big 12, probably all the schools in the ACC, and then you're going to get a few stragglers. You're going to get Washington State and Oregon State maybe doing it. You're going to get some of those. And that's going to be your new field of people who are even potentially able to compete. Anyone who's worth anything will exclusively go to those programs. And your ability to compete as a school is going to be directly related to your ability to manage a bankroll.
So here's my question, right? So Alabama, Georgia, LSU, yada, they get all the best players, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is, in this new system, what is stopping SMU or Houston and going Colorado, right? Going, we're not going to invest as much in these other sports. We're going to go out and get the best quarterback in the country and pay him the most money, more than anybody else can pay him.
Absolutely nothing.
So this will change the game a little bit, maybe.
Bidding war.
This will change the game in massive and dramatic ways. Not a little.
I love it.
I'm glad the players are getting paid.
And
Me
we
too.
can tie this whole conversation back to the NCAA playoff selection show. That's enough of that. We've gone on too long. We're going to get into our next topic, folks. I hope you enjoyed that. We need to talk about this potential basketball sale. RJ, did you look into this for us?
Yeah. So you teased it in the title, or the intro. So Mark Cuban sells the Mavs, kind of, right? You guys are all hip to this? You hip to this? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he sold 50-some% to the owner of the Sands, kind of, right? So
what's the Sands?
So the Sands used to be a casino, right? There's no longer a casino.
Okay.
But it was the family. And they built the Venetian and the Palazzo and all that. They operate casinos overseas still. The guy died. The widow, this is like her first big move after that. So she's selling $2 billion worth of shares of her company to basically by controlling the Mavs, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of interesting.
Is this a Virginia McCaskey or is this what are we thinking?
She's old.
Here? She's old. This is definitely an old. I'm
age.
Trying to make a decision. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
All right, go on.
All right, so that's interesting. Why would Mark Cuban want to sell most of the company, right? Okay, so the other thing about Las Vegas, there's a lot of land where they're already planning on building an NBA arena. Okay, so it's like, all right, resort, casino, NBA arena, like all in one. How cool is that? All right, so that's weird.
Same ownership.
No,
so would they build?
Not. Of course not. Of course, it's not the same ownership. That is the Oak View Group. Okay.
So the people who own the land in Las Vegas that would be attached potentially to an NBA arena are not the people who just purchased the majority stake in the Mavericks.
That is correct. It's definitely not them. Okay. You tracking?
Yep.
All right. So the Oak View Group is building this mega resort in Las Vegas. All right. Who is that? You may ask, right? Because that's why we're having this conversation.
Who is that, Ryan?
I pulled up their website. We are the largest developer of sports and live entertainment venues in the world.
Are they Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was I thought that was the whole Sphere. They're the number one venue.
Jerry's World.
Jerry's World. Okay, so who knows what this company is, right? They seem to be building arenas. All right, so why would we speculate that they are involved, Peter? Well, because Blue Diamond LLC, which seems to be named after the street where half of this property is owned, the half of the property that whatever Oakview Group doesn't own. The managing partner is Scott Goldstein, son of Sands CEO Rob Goldstein.
So they have a stake in this other company?
One might think they're somewhat related. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting.
Do we know anything else about this company that owns the land? Like, what, they just
Absolutely
buy land?
not.
Like, we don't know.
No, they just have this land.
Aren't.
It's not a company.
So it's not really a competitor of MSG?
The Oakview Group, they appear to actually build arenas. Like if you wanted to build an arena, I think they show up, Dog and Pony Show, build you an arena, get you the funding, and they actually build arenas. Now, this other company, they just happen to have this land at the intersection where they want to build this thing, right? That's all they bring to the table. I tried to Google to see what they were, and it was just like a bunch of filings and then Las Vegas Review-Journal articles about this project. So it's nothing. But it is the son of the CEO of the Sands.
Is anyone else talking about this company that you could find online?
No.
Oh, this is good stuff. Keep going.
So why would Mark Cuban sell part of the company? Because Mark Cuban wants to build a casino in Dallas. So right now there are 3 casinos in Texas. They're all tribal owned. Texas is a little conservative. They're not sure they want to have casinos, right? Mark Cuban is sure he wants to have one. And he even stated he would partner with the Sands family multiple years ago. Okay, so now this is where I think it's like the ultimate move. So he said, I've sold my company to this company that has absolute interest in moving this franchise to Las Vegas. So I also want to build a casino in Dallas. Your move, Texas.
Is anyone talking about that?
Nobody is talking about that yet.
That's a great chess move.
Yeah.
So you believe Mark Cuban's sale isn't about him giving up ownership of the team. It's a power move with the state of Texas to try to get himself a casino that's not on tribal land.
Correct. I think it's the ultimate gambling lobby move. They don't even have sports betting in Texas.
And also, Mark Cuban remains the decision maker.
48% decision maker.
He doesn't lose any of his decision making.
Most likely.
Yeah.
How do you sell a majority stake to one entity and keep say over the whole?
Right. How would that actually work? Like,
because you don't have a say.
You're not buying the Mavericks to fire Mark Cuban, though, right?
Oh, he's a valuable asset.
He's
You keep him on the
extremely
team.
valuable.
And
asset.
you are buying the Mavericks to get the Mavericks to build an arena by your company on the land that you own.
Or you're buying them to get you and your new partner, Mark Cuban, a casino, which is your area of expertise built in the state of Texas.
Yep.
The Sands want to make this same move, same power move. There's no way Mark Cuban's going in and building a casino in Texas without some entity that knows the casino gaming business extremely well
and can railroad this through.
Gosh, that's
with a back
so
door.
Smart.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, the other option is I let my son move this team to the Las Vegas.
It sounds like a win-win for the
Bingo.
controlling owners.
And they're not going to let that happen.
I thought you were going to at the end do a gotcha where Mark Cuban owns the
land.
Yeah,
he's the other guy.
17 years ago he bought the land out in Vegas.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to throw that at me.
Yeah, no, but he has gone on the record to say, yes, I want to build a casino in Dallas and I will partner with the Sands in order to do so.
Do you not think that they will hand LeBron James his own franchise in Las Vegas that he can name whatever he wants?
Whatever he wants. That's an interesting proposition. He does want to own, him and Shaq want to own the actual franchise in Las Vegas. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out eventually.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts in this.
Yeah. Right. So I think ultimately we'll see, not tomorrow, but we'll see a casino in Dallas where the Mavericks play.
And we're going to see the Mavericks.
We'll see an NBA team in Las Vegas. Right. I think the Mavericks are going to stay.
Oh, the Mavericks are going to stay in Dallas.
Yeah, I think that's the move.
And they're going to get a casino.
And they're going to get a casino, and Las Vegas is going to get an NBA team. They're going to expand.
Okay.
I think it's a great possibility, and that's pretty interesting.
And I'm here for it because I need a second favorite NBA team.
So pretty soon in Vegas, we're going to have a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah.
We already have a hockey team.
Yep.
Already have an NFL team, and we're going to have an NBA team.
Yeah.
And
someday.
you have the Rebels, right?
You got the Rebels.
I hate the Rebels. they're a conference opponent of UNM.
Yeah.
Now,
and they've got a soccer team, if anybody counts that.
Now, in all this conversation, I stopped thinking about sports gambling, and I thought, what's the play on the stock market here, bud? This is real research that people do when they make decisions about investments in companies.
Yeah.
What's the play?
Pass.
We're not going to look and see what our move is.
Of course, the Las Vegas Journal and all these articles, because every news thing I researched about this was literally just the Las Vegas Review Journal. That's their only thing talking about this.
I mean, I'm saying you're out in front on this topic. Let's get in before the market moves.
Yeah. Okay.
Who are we betting on? Oak Hill. I don't think they're on the ticker.
Oak View. Yeah. It says what everybody closes
ticker.
after the news. Who cares? Let's just bet on sports.
All right, Kurt.
Perfect.
You got a topic that I want to run through. You've decided you no longer want the juice. Why is that?
Okay, so I would say over the past 3 months, I've completely changed the way that I sports bet. And I think the way I used to sports bet is very similar to the ways a lot of people sports bet now, especially beginners. And that can easily be traced to people who bet plays in Discords, people who bet plays in Twitters. So a lot of people get plays off social media, right? Discord, Twitter, Instagram. And I don't even know if anybody touts on Facebook, but I imagine there's some out there.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And with that being said, that's the majority of how these lines move so fast. So we've all experienced it. We've all made plays off Twitter followers, right? We've all seen the lines move.
Quick question here, Jay. In all your gambling, you mentioned a lot of stuff about Twitter and having notifications on. Are you keeping notifications on for touts who aren't promo bettors? Like, are you tailing guys with accounts who are just like, yeah, I like this play and I like that play?
Prop bomb or something like that.
I'll follow like guys that will release EV positive plays and then attempt to tail them, and sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not because it's a quick game. You know, I mean, they say it's good and you try to bet it and it's gone a minute or two later.
Now, EV based on their model's expected value, or EV based on calculations relative to other books?
Based on the market, yeah.
Yeah, just that
Who knows?
I'm blindly trusting that what they're doing mathematically is correct, you know.
But they're saying they're doing it based purely on math. There's no one that you're tailing that's like, yeah, you know, what are we doing? Sabres game here. I've got blah, blah, blah under 2.5 shots. I've got blah, blah, blah under 2.5 shots. And
not on Twitter, no.
Okay. Got it. Okay, Kurt.
So, but Jay, your input, and you guys know this, the lines move so fast on some of these guys, right? We've all played That Guy Bets. We've all played Prop Bomb. By the time you look at it, it's moved
I got a theory on
20 to 30 cents.
But go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So the way I used to bet is I would see, for example, a play on Twitter, right? And it would be, let's say, LeBron James over 24.5 points minus 110.
Right.
By the time I actually got to the book or looked at all the books, even saw the play, right? Because time, you don't get it on it right away every single play.
Yeah.
The line is already minus 145, minus 155.
Yep.
And in my head, and I know this is the theme amongst all casual bettors, is if I can still get the over 24.5 points,
I got to bet it.
I got to bet it.
Because if I don't,
it's going to go to 25.5 points for plus money. Right. And that's the mistake that I made.
Yeah.
And so over the last, I'd say it started in the baseball season where I would listen to Derek Carty.
Juice reducers.
Right. I would listen to Derek Carty, and a lot of the times on his morning shows, a pitcher's strikeouts would move instantaneously as he was releasing the prop.
Yeah.
And then he would say, well, yeah, it moved from 6.5 strikeouts to 7.5 strikeouts, but we're now getting plus 135.
Right. Go for it.
Which makes the play almost as good, if not better.
Right.
Right. So that really started getting my gears spinning.
Okay.
So
shout out Derek Carty. We have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. So I've got some examples of just props that I've played in the last few weeks that I've just dug up that fall under this kind of same scenario, right? This was released on Twitter, and it was Rudy Gobert under 16.5 points, and the line when I saw it was minus 130.
Mm-hmm.
The best line for Rudy Gobert under 15.5 points is plus 100.
Right.
Now, the difference in juice that you're being charged to take the extra point on his under is $24 per $100 bet. So you are getting charged a lot of money to take that extra point. And so it comes down to, you really have to think about, is that extra point on the prop bet really worth the vig that you're paying?
Right.
Right. And so that's something that if you are betting these props and you see them move and they're going from under 16.5 to under 15.5, you really need to pay attention to the price that they're charging for the bet, because the higher number with the higher juice might not be the best play. Does that make sense?
Totally does.
Perfect. So the next play I have here is a spread point, and this got me thinking about how much is a half point. So now that we've moved into odd shoppers, right, and we're getting to see all these lines and the EV on these plays, there are a lot of lines that are separated by a half point, and you're talking about spreads and totals.
And we're looking at a basketball play here.
And we're looking at a basketball play that I got this today. So
the Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks.
This next play. This next play is an 8% EV play, and it's Maryland Eastern at plus 26.5, and it's at minus 110 at MGM. Okay, the true odds of this play are minus 129. If you look, you can see that DraftKings has plus 27 at minus 115.
Right.
So what is the value of that extra half point that you're getting when you see this on an odd shopper and an odds jam, and you see the better line out there, but you're paying a little bit more juice? And so I ran these numbers through a a half point calculator.
Okay.
And you can see that the half point to get to that 27, the juice that is fair that you should be paying is minus 121.
And whose tool is this? Is unabated? Or?
This is OddsJam.
This is OddsJam? Okay.
Yeah, OddsJam calculator. So we're getting plus 27 minus 115. The fair value of that extra half point should be minus 121. So not only were we getting a half a point, but we're getting the best price on that as well.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you can use that tool on OddsJam. It is totally free. So if you come across lines that are minus 2.5 in football and you find it at minus 3 on another site, you can use that tool and you can find out what the actual juice is that you should be paying for that half point.
Right.
So he's saying a half point is worth 11 blips.
11 blips.
Yep.
That's a technical term.
Technical term. RJ and I came up with
We're
it.
working on
It's
blips.
Blips.
Yeah.
Blips.
So
Blips.
blips.
Yep, there you go.
I like it. I like sense. I like sense.
Sense works.
If we go to football,
yeah, it's a lot
let's
different
transition
in
to
football, right?
In football, it's a lot different. So this is what I pulled up for football. So you've got the Niners at minus 3 at minus 110, and then you've got them on. This is on MGM.
Okay.
Then if you look at FanDuel, they're minus 2.5 at minus 118. So because football is played on the numbers of 3 and 7, right? So
you got wonky numbers.
You've got wonky numbers.
Yeah.
If you put that into the fair to the calculator on OddsJam for the half point, you'll see that the price that you should be paying is minus 135 on that minus 2.5.
Now remember, this is the same reason we only play teasers in the NFL.
Right.
The variance on those points is always going to be much tighter, meaning the range of outcomes in a 27.5 point spread basketball game
Correct.
is very high.
Right.
The range of outcomes in a very tightly monitored NFL market is much smaller.
Yeah.
That's true.
You got your key numbers.
That's true.
Shout out that conversation with Eric Rosenthal. Jay, you remember that one?
Not specifically.
Oh, come on. All right. Go on, Kurt.
Judge Jay.
But you can see,
All right. So we get the point here.
yeah,
Put me on the spot there.
you can see how much that you should be charged for that half point in football compared to a half point in basketball.
So
right.
let me ask you this. They have a different calculator for different sports? Or is this all one calculator?
It's all one calculator,
Okay.
but you switch between and you can switch between sports.
Okay, I understand. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
So it's spreads, totals, any sport that you want. But you could see that a half point in football across a key number is worth 25 cents.
Right.
That's crazy. I thought that was absolutely insane. So if you can use that tool and you can find a line where you get that extra half point at better than minus 135,
Yeah.
total play. Total
I gotcha.
play. And the same goes for the other side of the bet as well. So the key takeaway is when you get plays on Twitter, right, you always want to make sure that you are not paying too much juice for a line that moves, right? If it moves half a point, if it moves a full point, you want to make sure that you're playing the best line with the best price.
Here's my takeaway, Kurt. It sounds to me like maybe the books that are slower to move or that were off the market price by a point are slower to react to the movement of the correlated price at that alternate number.
So me and Jay were actually just talking about this.
You understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So what we're saying here is if there's a number out there that's at 16.5 that you like, and there's a number out here that's a plus money number at 15.5, and that 16.5 moves, other 16.5s in the market are probably more likely to react to that period
Yeah.
than the 15.5 is, which is why that 15.5 becomes more valuable when that 16.5
Bingo.
moves.
100% agree with you.
Yeah.
100% agree with you.
That's awesome. That's good research. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, you're welcome.
Absolutely. And just to elaborate a little bit, or just to expand on that, is the fact that price shopping, if to a novice, beginner, intro gambler, you're just picking up, price shopping is the single best thing you can do. I mean, I think that you got to have multiple books and you have to be taking the best available price every single bet. That's just throwing money down the drain if you aren't.
But the trap that people get into who don't know any better is they see someone who wins a lot of plays, right?
Right.
win 60%, whatever their numbers are, right?
You get
and
the check mark.
And they get the check mark, and they put out a line, and they go to play that, and they see that it's moved, and they play it anyways.
Yep.
Right? Just to get that number, right? And that was my mentality when I first started this, because I was like, the most important thing is to win the bet.
I just got to win.
I just got to win the bet.
Right.
And now I've learned that,
Now you learned you fire enough bullets, you're going to lose some.
well, yeah. And what's the difference between over 24.5 points and over 25.5 points?
Yeah, it's all about the price.
Right.
When you're doing it over 60 bets a day,
Yeah.
it's all about the relative value.
Yep.
Yep.
It's
You're right.
not about the number.
Totally agree.
Bingo.
Totally agree. And that when you start betting EV and start using OddsJam or OddsShopper, you'll totally see this in real time.
Yeah. So, yeah, what me and Jay were talking about earlier, I was mentioning dabbling in first half NCAA basketball lines.
I'm all over it.
Yeah.
I bet like 10 a day.
Because it feels like the traditional total changes, and then the first half changes a little slower. Kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Neat, nerdy discussion.
It is. It really is. We're going to let you go, audience, here in a minute. But there's one more topic that I got to get to.
Oh, boy.
Well, I hear you guys talking about your strategy,
Nerdy ass stuff.
your back and forth thing, and talking about how you guys keep making money and how awesome it is. I want to tell a quick story. Everyone familiar with NFL Red Zone?
I have seen it.
Scott Hansen?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
He's a friend of mine.
He's the host. In the last hour of the noon and the 3 p.m. Central games, he refers to as the witching hour.
Mm-hmm.
That time when wins become losses and losses become wins. You heard it right there. You heard me say it, and you
Yeah.
know exactly what I'm
I
talking
got chills.
about. Yep, there you go. Anyway, we totally get that in sports gambling on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I realized that, and I was like, yes, this is so awesome for all of you as DGen, as us at least. Take, for example, a Tuesday night. You've got a lot of action starting at 6. A chunk starting at 7, and then you got your stragglers coming in at the 8 o'clock hour and the 9 o'clock hour, right?
Right.
You've got your straights, you've got your parlays, your promos, all the good stuff. You're 16 wagers deep. Just an example. So you hit that 8 p.m. window. The earlies are starting to wrap up, the middle games are in full swing, and whatever is left late night is still waiting. You've got an idea at this point where you're heading, right? Right? You got an idea?
Like wins or losses?
Like you know where your night's heading at
Right.
this point. You're starting to get an idea of it. Let's say you hit a parlay, a nice plus 780 on a small wager,
It's
right?
extremely specific.
No, I'm just,
Very
it's an
specific.
example. It's an example. You hit a few straights, you take an L or two, but overall, a healthy start. But here's where it gets spicy. It's all lined up for more. A big one. You got multiple big ticket promo parlays, whatever they are, looking good. Just need to finish strong. You've hit the witching hour. Now I can sit and tell you how those nights could go. We've all had those banger nights you remember for months, if not longer. But wins also become losses. You may just see Jalen Brunson brick a free throw, cost you a plus 200, followed by a random NHL defenseman luck boxing his way into a point, killing a plus 1200. Capped off by the Blackhawks blowing a third period lead, then losing in a shootout where their goalie didn't make one save, costing you a plus 175. That is the witching hour, fellas. And it's just a random example that I came up with in the back of my head. But this brings me to my problem.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of wins become losses lately.
That does stink.
November didn't go well. It was my second losing month this year.
Oh.
I feel lost at sea. No system, not a computer, not on a computer 8 hours a day anymore. I can't get down. Here are some of my struggles. I can't reliably catch plays before they are steamed. You just talked about that. I can't consistently make plus EV promo plays that require work and effort of my own. I can't find a system of my own without putting in real work. And I'm sitting here watching my co-host destroy the books with OddsShopper's free tool, yet somehow I'm down trying it myself. So each of you, I want one brainstorming idea for something small I can easily do to help me get on back on track. Something basic I may have forgotten, some account to focus on, anything. Give me an idea I can fit into my life. RJ, go.
All right. So I would suggest you start listening to podcasts on your daily walk. Not pick shows, but podcasts to pump you up about life, gambling, improving, whatever it may be. Mostly gambling. And if you don't walk, start walking so you have time to listen to podcasts.
I'm going to do that, and I'm going to check out the @Good Juju Bets account for recommendations on which podcast to listen to.
There you go. There you go. I put some bangers on there.
Kurt.
You're going to hate my answer. I know you already read it. I know. Listen, I look at your picket too. I see my plays up in there. So they're actually not my plays, but they are picked from my picket,
this.
right?
Okay.
So my recommendation is, because you can't watch these shows, because you know I am on my phone like a hawk and I'm picking these things off, why don't you hop on Picket and you can ask me, right, at any point in the day, especially on Friday. You know, you say you're not good at NFL, right? Your NFL's been bad for you. I can tell you exactly when I'm putting in all of Derek Carty's plays, right? Ask me, go to my Picket. I'll even screenshot them for you and send them to you, and you can just tail them.
Do these plays move?
No.
I mean,
Nobody watches these shows.
Okay.
I am at work. I am busy for an hour, and I am an hour late to the show, and I get on there and I make the plays.
I hate the idea of you having to send me information every single day to do this. It's a great, nice, friendly thing for you to do, but it's a bad idea. What you can do is let's update the spreadsheet for the viewing guide.
Oh, neat.
With links to the things you're actively viewing that I can tail and include the Cardi link, and I'll go to the video and grab the plays. I don't need you to feed me them. I just need to know that I can go when my kids are napping, pull it up, and still it's worth my time to check it on a day-to-day basis because it'll still be there to get down on.
Yeah, interesting.
So let's do that. If you guys wouldn't mind, maybe we take another look at the viewing guide for the winter schedule.
Yeah, sounds fun.
Okay, great one. Anything, Jay, that you got recommended for me?
You're betting promos that are labeled EV every day, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you a quick question? When you aren't able to get down on, let's say promo guy puts out a 3-leg parlay promo and you go to check it 10 minutes later and it's already moved. Are you putting them together yourself then, or are you looking to a different account, and how do you do that?
So for the last 4 or 5 months, I'm like limited to $10 on all the SGPs, all the promos.
Me too. That's fine.
So $10 doesn't get me excited. So I'm betting long shots, first basket. If it's an SG, I'll throw something together. But for the most part, I'm not following promo guys' parlays.
You're just trying to make something bigger than that.
I'm putting something together. I'm not necessarily trying to hit a huge parlay with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll make something reasonable, but I make most of my own.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't think long shot first basket parlays is probably my answer.
No. I'm not parlaying them, for the record.
Oh.
I'm only betting one. I'm only betting one.
I'm going to cut out everything you just said, and we're going to go with it, Jay. All right. That'll do it for us, folks. Thanks to Jay for joining us. You can follow him at Big J's Plays on Twitter and check out his picket at Value Town. For
That's your
great
picket.
plays
That's
on a daily basis. Good juju to all your bets. We'll talk again next week, Jamblers.
Jamblers. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you guys for having me.
See ya.